This blog is all about traversing the Lahore Spiti circuit, which we did between 15th June to 26th June. On the first day, that is 15th June, I started from Moradabad for Chandigarh, covering a distance of 343 kilometers in 5 to 6 hours by a train and checked into CRPF officers' mess courtesy. The organizer of a trip and my batchmate, Dr. Hanspal. The next day, we were supposed to leave for Narkanda, which was 173 kilometers from Chandigarh, and we took 5 to 6 hours to cover that distance. We started by a tempo traveler to Narkanda, which is at an altitude of 8,100 feet and is situated on the Hindustan-Tibetan road. On the way, stopping at points for photo shoots and for lunch. The military hospital, the orchards covered with nets protecting them from hailstorms, overcrowded Shimla city with traffic jams and some beautiful buildings with red roofs interspersed in greenery all around did draw our attention. It was our first day, so all were chirpy and were intermingling with each other, ready to pose, seeing the camera. After crossing Shimla, the lush green pine and devdars provided the dense green cover to the mountains. It was a spectacular sight and differentiated Himachal from Uttarakhand. By the evening, we reached Narkanda, checked into the hotel and proceeded to the PWD guest house to explore if we could get a glimpse of snow-covered peaks. But luck was not on our side, as it had suddenly become cloudy. Narkanda is known for its undulating natural beauty and skiing in winters. We spent some time clicking each other with the beauty of Narkanda as a backdrop before proceeding to have dinner. On the third day, that is 17th June, we were supposed to move to Raksham Sangla from Narkanda, covering a distance of 167 kilometers over a period of 6 hours. Sangla was at an altitude of 8,900 feet and the temperatures expected were maximum 25 degrees centigrade and minimum 15 degrees centigrade. As we came out of our rooms into the balcony, we were mesmerized by the beauty that existed all around us, for there were floating clouds and mist all around, multiplying the beauty that existed many a folds. And I was reminded of an old Bollywood song carrying a spiritual meaning. संसार की हर शय का इतना ही फसाना है, एक धुंध से आना है, एक धुंध में जाना है. And I decided to make a time lapse of the natural beauty that existed all around before proceeding for the journey. It took me about 1.5 hours for the time lapse, and then we proceeded for the breakfast before boarding our tempo traveler for the journey onwards. We had decided to go to the Hathu Peak, but the rains and the slippery road made us drop the idea. So As we proceeded along the Satluj River, the beauty of the mountains and the flowing river made us stop at various points for the shots and for absorbing the picturesque beauty that existed all around. There were laborers and engineers working hard on a hydroelectric power project for Himachal's development as on the river Satluj, and we saw them as we drove along the river till we entered Baspa Valley at Karcham. En route Sangla is Saharan, which houses architecturally beautiful 800 years old wooden temple of Bhimkali having wooden, brass and silver doors. This is the same temple where human sacrifices were made 2 centuries ago. We were made to deposit our cameras and don yellow caps before entering the main temple. No leather items were allowed inside the main temple. On the way to Sangla, the roads are carved, cutting caves through the rocks, making the journey more enthralling and interesting. At Karcham, there is a hydroelectric power station on Baspa River, and from here on we drove along Baspa River for Sangla. The river had emerald colored water and it looked amazing. Sangla is situated at 8,900 feet and is situated in the Baspa Valley of Kinnaur district. The valley is blessed with apple orchards, apricots, walnuts, cedar trees, glacial streams, the fir trees and the meadows. Sangla truly is heaven on earth. It has a sangam of Hinduism and Buddhism, equating it to Zen culture. We checked into the hotel where the hotelier tried to cheat us by giving us 3 sickening rooms which were smelling with no views, probably the staff rooms, out of the 7 that we had booked. We had to pursue the matter with him with some financial negotiations to get proper rooms. The beauty all around was mesmerizing, cheering our tired minds, and we clicked incessantly before having our dinner and going to bed. On day 4th, that is 18th June, the excitement mounted up as we saw the free-flowing Baspa River from a balcony with snow-covered peaks in the backdrop, and the free-floating clouds added to the beauty. We hurried up to the terrace for some photography, took some splendid shots and videos of the birds, free-flowing river and snow-covered peaks. We appeared to be in a dreamland and did not want the dream to end. Time constraints and the itinerary forced us to the breakfast table before proceeding to Chitkul, the last inhabited village at the Indo-Tibetan border. It is at an altitude of 11,320 feet and was 9 kilometers away, and we required 1 hour to cover up the distance. The temperatures expected there was between 12 to 18 degrees centigrade. The approach was through a slender winding road with picturesque landscapes all around, of streams finding their way down to join the Baspa River, of waterfalls and vast Baspa riverbed at the foothills of mountains. We received a warm welcome by the ITBP. Thanks to DIG Dr. Hanspal. It is an all-year-round working base for the army, and the Jawans are trained and posted from this base to the border. We then proceeded to the river bank of Baspa River. Since it started raining, we could not stay there for long and took some selfies and photographs of the surrounding picturesque landscapes and Baspa River, and then pushed off to the hotel at Rakcham. On the way were many new upcoming hotels and homestays, which would be in future providing good options for staying for the tourists in this heaven on earth. We also saw a higher secondary school building, which reiterated the understanding that the people of Himachal valued education and understood its importance for growth while still being attached to the roots. On returning, everyone else retired to take some rest. I, on seeing the clouds, had some other plans and made an attempt to set up my photographic gear to capture a time lapse. Later on, I wandered into the village for a chat with the locals and some clicks with them, tried to lift a female's straw guttery, that is, gathered dried straw packed into a bag, into a cloth to make a baggage of it, which she was carrying on her back to make a bed for her cows. She related how proud she was of a son who was a major in the army, a daughter in law who was an advocate, and another son who was holding a high post in the government services. The girl who clicked us too was good in her mannerisms, and both interspersed English words fluently in the dialect, providing their cosmopolitan and open approach to life while still valuing and preserving their own culture and societal values. We had dinner and we slept, all excited for the next morning.